My name is Moray. I am a fashion designer who is obsessed with history, and I make history videos on the internet. And today we're talking about Porcia, who is the wife of Brutus. Porcia is known to be one of the most devoted women in Roman history. If any of you guys have watched an adaptation of Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, or if you're intellectual, you've read the play or studied it, you'll know there's this scene with Porcia where she stabs her thigh because she's so concerned what Brutus is about to do at the Ides of March. Porcia is known as being a wife that loved her husband dearly, but also she's also pretty famous because it's alleged that she was the only woman involved in the Ides of March, and she's the one who advised Brutus to go stab Caesar. Before I talk about Porcia, we need to talk about Brutus and his life. So let's talk about Brutus. Brutus is born in 85 BC. Brutus is born to an enemy of Pompey's, Marcus Junius Brutus. Then we have Sevilla, who is his mother. And Sevilla had a very long affair with Caesar. Some people say that Brutus was Caesar's child, and historians have disputed that, but it's still an interesting theory. As we spoke about, Brutus's father was killed by Pompey, or the proscriptions of Pompey. And Brutus thinks he can't go into public life, but he does. In 59 BC, he is adopted. And Brutus can't stop plotting. Brutus is a plotter. Brutus wants vengeance for his father's death, so he's accused of plotting against Pompey. However, the charges are retracted. Brutus's first public role was assisting Cato the Younger in Cyprus. Cato the Younger is the father of his second wife, Porcia, who is the subject of this video. But Cato the Younger is also his mother's half-brother. So family relations, family ties, nepotism, hey? In 54 BC, we can see that Brutus marries his first wife, Claudia. Claudia is the daughter of Appius Claudius Pulcher. And in 53 BC, we can see that Brutus becomes a quaestor, but Brutus is quite dodgy. It's alleged that he's involved in dodgy financial dealings. In 52 BC, after Claudia, his wife's uncle Claudius, is killed, Brutus's hate towards Pompey becomes one more, and he doesn't want Pompey to become a dictator. I think that would make a really great video why Caesar became Caesar and Pompey was kind of like the Liz Truss of the Roman Empire. In 49 BC, we can see that Caesar's civil war breaks out, and we can see that Brutus actually sides with Pompey, his father's killer. But it was only because of Cicero, my guy Cicero, my favorite Cicero. Brutus knew that he needed to survive. We also see that Brutus divorces Claudia and marries Porcia, his wife, his devoted wife, and the subject of today's video. So let's talk about Porcia in depth. Porcia is the daughter of Cato the Younger, and she's born around 73 BC. Her father divorced her mother due to adultery, and this happened when Porcia was very, very young. Porcia, from a young age, also had an interest in Stoic philosophy. People call her the Stoicist. Porcia's first marriage, arranged by her father, is to Marcus Calpurnius Biblius. And this happens sometime around 58 to 53 BC. Cato, her father, is a staunch opponent to Julius Caesar. And obviously, we come to 52 BC. We spoke about Caesar's civil war, and it hits. And Porcia and her father and their side of the family also allied with Pompey, like Brutus did. So we can already see that Brutus and Porcia are not Team Caesar. However, Pompey becomes defeated. This leaves Porcia a widow. Her husband passes away. In 45 BC, we can see that Brutus divorces his wife, Claudia, and marries Porcia. Not only are Brutus and Porcia first cousins, but there's a public scandal about this. Believe it or not though, my guy Cicero, and it says here, Atticus, Cicero and Atticus actually supported it, so Cicero supported incest, I guess. We still love his speeches anyway. He also didn't like Fulvia, so who's my girl. Here's the thing, despite political tensions, and whilst there was no Romeo and Juliet style love story, Porcia and Brutus loved each other a lot. Porcia's sons by her first marriage actually liked Brutus as a stepfather, and it's alleged they wrote biographies of their stepfather. Even though he was a money launderer and was quite into a scandal, he was a good stepfather, allegedly. We all know about the Ides of March. 44 BC, Caesar gets murdered. However, Brutus and Porcia? How much did they plan? How much of a sounding board was Porcia? Well, allegedly a lot. That's what we know from Plutarch. You see, Porcia being the soundboard for Brutus before the Ides of March happened is a huge deal. Whilst the concept of the ideal Roman woman was in its infancy, because the ideal Roman woman really peaked with Livia Drusilla, Porcia was still the daughter of Cato the Younger. She was still an aristocrat. So for Brutus to bear that burden to her, that he's gonna murder Caesar and go against the grain, is a big deal. Brutus bearing this burden on Porcia wasn't the done thing. It's not something that Cato the Younger would have done to his wife. And here, Brutus was just a scallywag. Women were not to be involved in politics. Even now, people say this. I mean, and especially Plutarch. We love Plutarch here. But he really hints that Porcia had a lot more involvement than was made out to be. And she was a lot more than a sounding board. We now need to discuss what was the aftermath for Brutus and Porcia after the Ides of March. Cicero gets killed. So, Cicero, who was too boring to go to the Ides of March, gets killed, and Rome is crazy. It's poco loco. It's everyone for themselves. Many public figures in Rome after the Ides of March get killed, including Cicero. I'm only mentioning Cicero because I have a hot spot for Cicero, okay? And Rome is in chaos. It's one man for themselves. And Brutus and Cassius, they went off to the east and they amassed a lot of wealth. Brutus and Cassius, you know, they're moving their armies into the east and they are confronting the triumvirate. Brutus gets his end at the Battle of Philippi. At the Battle of Philippi, we all know that Octavian, as revenge to exonerate Caesar, he goes to town. The Battle of Philippi, the Battle of Actium, I will cover them on this channel soon. But Brutus passes away. What I find interesting is how Porcia is alleged to have taken the news. And also conspiracy theories, because they're conspiracy theories because we don't know, about how Porcia ended up passing away. Porcia's death has been a subject of historical debate for centuries. And quite frankly, all the alleged deaths, or the ways that she died, make her life seem like a Lana Del Rey song. To be honest, it's like the devoted woman dying for the man, right? We've seen it in The White Lotus with Chelsea and Rick. You guys should watch The White Lotus, or let me know what you think of The White Lotus. Is Chelsea and Rick's death like Porcia and Brutus? Anyway, the traditional narrative and most common theory is that Porcia committed suicide in 42 BC when she heard about her husband's passing. Apparently, though, the way she did it was by swallowing hot coals. But historians are like, no. It was carbon monoxide poisoning, and therefore it probably wasn't a suicide. And then some of the historians who are trying to join the dots think that she passed away in 43 BC.
I've connected the two dots.
However, Cassius Dio, he claims that she took her own life. Plutarch's conclusion? Plutarch believes that Porcia swallowed hot coals. So, who knows? In conclusion, Porcia is seen commonly in media. There are incredible Renaissance portraits of this woman. And she was devoted and a ride or die to her husband. However, Brutus is a dodgy character. He's just a dodgy guy, you know? There's not one source to show that he was a dodgy guy. I mean, it's money laundering, plotting, scheming.
The whole 9 yards.
He was a good stepfather, though. We can agree that. But Portia, she did devote her life to him. Thank you so much for watching our videos. Also, leave a like and subscribe. And also, I just want to say something, right? The comments I've been getting when I moderate these videos, my goodness, you guys are so sweet. And you guys are leaving so many cool video ideas and things for me to research. So currently I am making a list of those ideas and we will get onto that. So thank you for your lovely comments, likes, and making me smile. Thank you for me and camera person. Okay, we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.